Hello and welcome to the inaugural episode of what we are calling the Putting Up the Shields podcast, the only Overwatch League podcast made by and for LA Gladiators fans. I'm here with my lovely girlfriend and co-host Rachel. How are we doing?
We're good.
Are you ready to talk about the chaos?
I am so ready.
All right, let's get right into it. I don't know about you, but I wanted to sort of start this and talk about the season that the Gladiators had as a whole in 2022. Two stage title wins, by far our most successful season ever.
One stage title undefeated.
That is true. That is true. We did not lose in was it the kickoff clash?
I think it was the kickoff clash.
Perfect. And I don't know. I just think, after winning the Countdown Cup in 2021, winning both the Kickoff Clash and the Midseason Madness here in 2022, we just keep getting better.
I agree.
And I don't know. What would you say some of the challenges that we faced this season were in spite of that?
Well, I'm going to reference actually something that Reiner's what's it called? The end of the season statement that he made, that he had one of his friends post on Twitter for him.
The Reiner tweet.
Yes. I think something that he brings up in that statement is that it was very chaotic for Ons and Patafon to both leave in the middle of the season.
We did have people moving in and out, yeah.
And that's just not, that's something a few other teams face, but I think that what he was saying about how that affected the rest of the team, I think that was probably a pretty massive challenge, because then your entire DPS line pretty much changes.
That's true. And another thing I wanted to bring up from his little statement is, he talked about mental health issues that he was having, and even some medical issues that he was having, and that he might... We don't know what's going on. For reference, we're recording this on November 11th, 2022. We have not heard a word from Gladiators management, so we don't really know what's going on. However, Reiner did state that he was feeling like he may or may not be on the team next year.
Right. Just talking about Reiner specifically, he did state that he wasn't sure if he was even going to be in the league, or if he was going to be signing to the Gladiators again, or if he'd be on a different team. So it's really as of right now, it's really up in the air. As far as and so is Happy. Happy also is a free agent technically, but he is in negotiation with the Gladiators to be part of the 2023 roster right now. So we'll see what happens.
And, obviously, Kevster is locked in until the end of 2023, but thank God for that, right?
Thank fuck for that.
But I mean, what do we think? What do we think that the uncertainty surrounding Reiner and Happy and potentially other members of the Gladiators, what do we think that means for the LA Gladiators as a team?
I mean, I don't know about you, but if we keep Reiner and Happy, that'd be totally cool. That'd be great. They're wonderful players. If we don't keep them, however, that would be okay. I think there are other prospects of other players that are free agents that we could definitely pick up. Yeah, I don't really think we could go wrong. Of course, I want to keep Happy and Reiner.
They were very. I would say Reiner especially had a standout year as a rookie coming straight from contenders.
Yeah. Well, I also think that Happy. Happy probably would have had more of a standout performance if he hadn't
been on the Washington Justice for the first half of the year. I agree.
If he had been part of the team for longer than he was, if he had been part of the roster going into the season.
But speaking of potential free agency,
Carpe has moved on from the Overwatch League. He's what is he doing now? He's going to go into
He's Valorant. I think that's the rumor, anyways, that he's gonna
Yeah.
play
I don't know if
Valorant.
is it a rumor? I thought he was confirmed.
I don't know. I don't have all the information.
I thought that Philadelphia Fusion tweeted something about how he would do great on the.
Did they? Did they? I'm not on Twitter, so that's right. I'm not on Twitter.
Well. And San Francisco Shock is chaos right now.
That's true.
Let go of
right now. I think they're rocking with only Violet, Finn, Proper, and Kilo. Meaning that Kaluj, Mikey, Sam, and Striker, no surprise there, are free agents. But let me ask you this: going back to the Reiner situation and largely the tank situation in general on the Los Angeles Gladiators, we don't really know what's going on with Space either.
God, I know. I mean, I would love to keep Space for another season. I think Space is wonderful. And he's just when I think of the LA Gladiators, he is one of the primary players that I think of.
That's true. Although he has taken on more of a leadership / assistant coach role in the last season.
Definitely.
I would argue. But okay. Let's enter speculation territory. Oh no, folks, here we go. Who do you think, assuming that Reiner parts ways with the LA Gladiators, who is the ideal tank pickup?
Oh boy.
In your eyes?
I don't know. Okay, Reiner is a main tank, right?
Well, I think he's proven that he can play anything under the sun.
Well, yeah, of course, but I guess main tank, off tank, it kind of doesn't matter as much as it did back in
before Overwatch 2.
Yeah. Especially if you can play even off tank and main tank heroes. So, if we're not considering the fact that he's considered a main tank, I would really like to pick up Kaluj. I've said that before. Not obviously on a podcast or on Twitter, but just you and I talking casually.
Yes.
I would like to pick up Kaluj. Mostly because I think Kaluj... Am I wrong? Kaluj plays most of the same characters or heroes that Reiner plays? There's some discrepancy, but mostly.
Some discrepancy. Given my understanding of Kaluj, he is an off-tank player primarily that also plays Winston when he needs to.
Yeah, and I think if Space stays and he takes on more of a leadership position, we are going to need somebody that's really good on off-tank heroes.
But Kaluj mainly is who you'd like to see picked up.
Yeah, I mean, and I if we do pick up Mikey, that would be fine. I mean, they're both great, and they're both coming from a very strong, very solid team with very solid individual performances. So.
Absolutely. And it would keep up the tradition of, Shock players inevitably ending up on the Los Angeles Gladiators.
That's just the circle of life at this point for a Shock player. You just end up on the Gladiators.
That's true. As falls Wichita, so falls Wichita Falls. But outside of the Gladiators, there's a little bit of chaos right now. What do you make of what's going on with the Dallas Fuel?
Well, okay. See, I'm not sure who to be more excited about having almost completely free agents, because San Francisco Shock has pretty much let go of some very, very strong players.
Absolutely.
That could definitely, we have done that before. We have swiped free agents from hot off the San Francisco roster, as you could say. But it's terms of okay. It's a little difficult to really say who I would want from the Dallas Fuel's roster that's free agent, because I do know for a fact that even though they are free agents, they are still negotiating with the Dallas Fuel currently.
Mm-hmm. Quite frankly, I'm a little surprised that they, 3 or 4 of them are not immediately being renewed by Dallas Fuel after that incredible championship performance.
You know, I would love to see us pick up Edison. I would love to see us pick up Edison.
Okay.
Because Edison, okay, you were with me when we were at the grand finals.
Yes.
And Edison, in those moments, up against Proper, can't forget about Proper.
I'd like to forget about Proper.
Anyway, I don't want to sound salty. Up against Proper, he was brilliant. His performance is brilliant. He gets such a land buff.
Yeah, the Dallas Fuel really did get a land buff in Anaheim, which is a little surprising considering that a lot of their other live performances this year fell short of people's expectations. So good for them, but it's your Edison comment is kind of interesting because I'd like to put this conundrum forward. Edison or Happy? Who would you...
I love Happy, and I think Happy is brilliant, and I think Happy could definitely go up against Edison. That is not a hot take, I don't think. If we can't keep Happy, I'd like to see us pick up Edison.
Okay, so you're primarily in the interest of keeping Happy.
I think so. Although I will say that I think we need someone who's more of a sniper. I don't think Happy's sniper is bad, but I think we need a specialist because that is... You saw the San Francisco Shock match up against the LA Gladiators.
I did. It was close, but
not close enough.
Not close enough, unfortunately.
It was a good game. At least it wasn't a sweep. But, you know, Circuit Royale.
That's kind of the Shock's ace in the hole, or at least it was in 2021.
2021
or 2020. I'm sorry, 2022.
You know, but we were really dominant at that map when we had Ons. In fact, I would even argue that it would be stupid of the Shock to have picked that map when we still had Ons.
True.
Because Ons can absolutely outsnipe anybody.
Yes, Ons is arguably one of the best hit scan snipers to ever play the game. Cold take alert, freezing fucking take alert.
That's freezing.
But
I would say that the difference in snipers, Happy versus Proper, I think that is where Happy falls a little short. His sniper capabilities are good, but they fall a little short when it comes to being up against Proper.
Well, when you're comparing anybody to Ons, they're going to come up short.
But, yeah.
But let me ask you this then. Let's say we do keep Happy, right? Yeah. Let's say, hypothetically, Happy re-signs with the Los Angeles Gladiators. Speaking of former Los Angeles Gladiators, Birdring has come back into free agency. Birdring has 3 days in Jerusalem resurrected himself. The second coming of our Lord and Savior Birdring has occurred, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. Get it while it's hot.
Yes.
So, and I've talked about this briefly, but let's say we keep Happy on as a Sojourn specialist. Who do we put in that hit scan spot? Because we all know that Happy is a very capable Widowmaker long-range hit scan type.
Definitely.
But his Sojourn performance was very, very good.
It was.
Especially next to Kevster. I think Kevster specializes elsewhere.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, we could definitely pick up Birdring again, but I don't think if we don't pick up Birdring again, I'd be sad, but I don't think.
But is Birdring, do you think Birdring is better suited to the long-range hit scan position than Happy would be, given both of their skill sets?
I do think that Birdring is a better sniper than Happy. I don't think this makes it sound like I think Happy is a bad sniper. I don't think Happy is a bad sniper.
No.
But you know, I think Birdring is a better sniper than Happy.
Okay. So, I mean, apart from Birdring, because, it's as likely that Birdring will sign with the Gladiators as it is any other team that has the budget to sign him.
Exactly.
So let's say we keep Happy, and then we still need to fill that long-range hit scan position. Who in the league right now do you think would be best suited to slot into a rotation with Kevster and Happy as a third DPS?
I literally don't know. I literally don't know.
Because my thoughts were that the LA Gladiators could sign Carpe, as we now have a bit of a track record of poaching players from Philly and them being incredible. Shout out to Funny Astro. That was my thought, but that's kind of down the shitter now because, Valorant is a behemoth that looms over us all and we can do nothing about it.
Exactly. No. But I don't know. I mean, do you have any idea who's a free agent right now that's really... I guess I haven't been paying much attention. I get really excited about... Oh God, a projectile DPS.
Yeah.
And tank players, but I don't pay attention to snipers, I guess. I just realized.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, Kilo's contract with the San Francisco Shock is still effective.
I
think so. There's also a whole contender scene that we have yet to dig our nails into.
I mean, it would be really refreshing for us to pick up a rookie that is a brilliant sniper.
Like Heesang?
Yeah, or just somebody. I mean, God, we haven't watched Contenders yet, but it would be nice for us to do that and just blow everybody's socks off with that.
That's true. I don't know. This might be a hot take, but I think I'm not entirely sure the status of Aspire's contract with the Vancouver Titans, but and obviously the Vancouver Titans did not do very well last year by dint of numerous things. But every time I did watch the Vancouver Titans, because, we got to support the boy Mirror, Aspire was hitting some of the cleanest headshots that I'd ever seen in my life. And for whatever reason, the rest of the team around him just seemed like they had trouble following up on it.
That's really interesting.
So I thought that maybe we sign Aspire at a low price because he's coming off the Vancouver Titans. He's not exactly a hot commodity.
Yeah.
And I think with the correct coaching and a better team around him, Aspire has the potential to pop the fuck off, ladies and gentlemen.
I mean, look at Happy. I mean, Happy is a good player, and we all knew that, right? Also, am I crazy? Was Happy not a rookie that they really talked about when he first joined the league?
I mean, yeah, he was in 2021 on the Houston Outlaws. He was very, at least in the beginning of the season, May Melee, June Joust territory, he was very lauded for his Cowboy Cassidy short range hit scan play.
Yes.
And I watched some of those matches, and yeah, he was doing really, really well.
I mean, and then he joins the Justice.
The Washington Justice.
And I don't want to hate on the Washington Justice, but good players can only do so much on certain teams.
That's true. And I mean, if you look at the behavior of the Washington Justice as of late, they traded Mag, who was one of the most promising rookie main tanks at one point
Yeah.
in 2021. People were really talking about Mag, and they dumped him on the Boston Uprising. And no shade to the Boston Uprising. I'm super happy that Mag has continued to be able to play Overwatch in Boston.
Oh, same.
But, you know, they got rid of Happy, they got rid of Mag. They're two, you know, aside from Decay, the two faces of the Washington Justice. And their management has said that they're trying to build a budget roster.
Yeah.
Actually, Decay is in free agency right now. He's in talks with the Washington Justice, but he is in free agency at the moment.
Well, is Decay a sniper? I can never remember.
Decay is what Decay wants to be, and that changes at any given time.
I don't know. Is that true?
There have been reports about him being... I don't want to speak for him or speak for anybody that may know him or be involved with him, but there have been reports and rumors that he is a little difficult to work with. He doesn't like to play long-range hit scan, and is kind of resistant to doing that.
So sniper position wouldn't be something that he would necessarily like.
No, also he's already had a turn at the Gladiators.
Oh, that's right.
He was on the Gladiators in 2019, correct me if I'm wrong.
I think so.
And we traded him to Dallas for OG. That's
that's
how
right.
we got OG.
That's right.
Which we all know how well that worked out.
Hey, I like OG.
I like OG too.
And he was a good main tank. We go through main tanks like nobody's business.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Why can't we keep a main tank?
Well, you got to remember that the LA Gladiators got real shaken up in the last off season, not the current off season, with the coaching changes. You know, Brenda was not always the manager of the LA Gladiators.
No.
She's a relatively new addition as well.
She is.
And so I think that sort of shook things up. I don't think, in terms of, if we want to talk about 2021, I love Muse. I think Muse is great. Muse is great. Muse is a fine player.
Yes, he's great.
And he deserves to continue to be in the Overwatch League.
He's been very good on the Toronto Defiant.
When they choose to play him over Hotbow, which is not often.
Exactly.
But I don't think he was working in the lineup. For whatever reason, I don't think he gelled with the other players. You know, your Shoes, your Skeweds, your Kevsters. I just don't think it was working.
Yeah. I mean, maybe you're right. He was obviously what we needed for a main tank back in 2021.
I mean, he was one of the hottest contenders prospects as well. It was him and Mag were the big guys.
Mag. Now it's what, Collusion Minor?
Well, from last year, yeah, it was basically the entire American Tornado roster.
And O2 Blast?
Well, yeah, O2 Blast in Korea, yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hopefully we can keep Reiner. And if we can't keep Reiner, hopefully the tank pickup that we have, we can keep for a while. Because, you know, I don't know. It's a little strange that maybe it's not strange, but I'm personally not into changing main tanks every year. I don't know about you.
Well, it's certainly been a strain on the roster that I think could be mitigated.
I do too.
But I also think the reasoning for it has been sort of this, that, and the third thing for every year. It's a different reason.
Yeah, I suppose. And especially with them changing over from Overwatch to Overwatch 2, it's kind of like what, you know, the tank position is the position that really seemed to change the most.
That's true.
Because we went from having 2 tanks to having 1 tank.
And maybe it'll be different this year.
Yeah,
this is the first year that we won't, that I say we, meaning teams and management inside the Overwatch League. Will not, we don't do shit.
We don't do anything.
We're just 2 fucking idiots with a microphone. But this is the first off season that we're not completely in the dark about what it's going to look like. And you know, the development teams are being transparent about patch notes and updates and new heroes and
I mean, can we just take a moment, not to cut you off,
please.
but can we take a moment to remember last year and how chaotic it was to watch everybody let go of tanks?
I mean, yeah, everybody's contract expired.
Everybody.
Or maybe that was the 2020 off season.
No, because it was, well, I don't know, but people just let go of their tanks so much last year.
Well, yeah, but I think people went into it assuming that, because in the Overwatch 1 era, tanks weren't really a thing that were a rotation.
No.
You didn't really have a tank rotation. You had 2 tanks that, performed on schedule. And
maybe you had like a specialist for one specific tank, but
you had LH Cloudy.
yeah. But you didn't really have. You're right. You didn't really have a rotation. At least it didn't seem like they did that much. Although there was a few rotations, I think.
I mean, you got to remember, 2021 not so much, but 2020 was the era of having an entire production crew of people on the bench.
Yes, there was like a lot of people on most benches for a lot of teams.
And I think going into 2022, going into the Overwatch 2 era, a lot of people expected okay, tanks aren't a rotational role. We need to find one tank who can do everything. And I think that was the prevailing attitude last off-season.
Well, yeah, and then as it developed, it was like, okay, like one tank can't do everything. Like let's have a little bit of a rotation. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I am.
Because you see teams, and I know this is a Gladiator podcast, but you see like the San Francisco Shock this year, having Mikey play the first map during the last few games.
Yeah.
It became a habit or a strategy, if you will, to have Mikey play the first map.
Good old map 1 Mikey.
Map 1 Mikey, and then they would bring in Kaluge. And they didn't do that for all the time. They didn't do that all the time, but it was definitely something that they seemed to do pretty often.
Yeah, and
if I'm not wrong.
No, I don't think you are wrong. I don't think you're wrong at all. Going back to this current off season and what's going on, here's an interesting thought. We don't really know what's going on with space, as I've said before. But is there a world in which space unfortunately leaves the Gladiators this year, or this off season rather, and we do keep Reiner? Is there a world in which you're happy to see a Kaluge Reiner tank rotation?
Yeah, I mean, I think that would probably be fine. I mean, you know what? That might actually be
because they have that AT.
They do, and they've been on the same team before.
Yeah.
That might be a good strategy. Yes.
Do we want to talk about the grand finals?
Yes.
A lot to unpack there.
I would love to talk about the grand finals. For those of you who might not be aware, Dallas won the grand finals.
And the summer showdown.
Well, and the summer showdown, but mostly the grand finals. and I feel like no one is talking about Dallas. I feel like everyone's still continuing to talk about San Francisco. Is San Francisco great? Yes. San Francisco is undeniably wonderful. A brilliant
good team.
Brilliant team. But Dallas won. You know what I mean? Dallas did win. And I just feel like no one's talking about them.
No, they're not getting talked about.
And I would love for people to talk about them more.
Yeah, and to the Shock fans out there that, the Shock fans inevitably have something to talk about. There's no doubt about that.
Oh, yeah.
But to the Shock fans out there who discount the LA Gladiators and or the Dallas Fuel, I say, how many titles have the San Francisco Shock won in the last 2 seasons? Tell me. How many trophies
How many?
has Proper taken home?
Not just Proper. Okay. That's another thing I want to talk about. Because poor Proper.
I know, dude was practically having a fucking anxiety attack live in Anaheim.
You can't blame him. This is his rookie season. It's not his fault that he's absolutely fucking cracked. And people hate on him. People only talk about him. Can you imagine how that feels? Can you imagine the kind of pressure that must have?
He should change his battle tag to pressure to actively reflect his mental state.
Listen. I'm just saying.
By the way, we're at 36 minutes.
I'm just saying that, like, people, like, I cannot imagine what it would be like for me to just step into, like, the big leagues and to instantly have everyone talking about me, to win MVP and Rookie of the Year, to go to the grand finals, and for the casters, not to hate on the casters, because I absolutely love our casters, I love our talent, but for them to be like, oh, it's going to be, if anybody's can do it, it's going to be Proper. Proper's going to lead them there. It's like, yes, Proper's brilliant. And I know that the team strategy is to work around whatever Proper's doing. That's what they've said before. But the pressure that must put on him, isn't that like the same thing that happened with Ons? Everybody talked about Ons.
And now Ons does not play full professional seasons anymore. He comes in and out. Because of the pressure, because of, he has his own struggles, and that's fine. But I think we have a habit of doing that, and I think that's great and that's understandable. But I think, taking a step back and looking at what does that do to the individual player that you're talking about? Exactly. Like, can you imagine if the LA Gladiators' entire strategy was to build a team around Shu?
I mean, you'd have to ask them. They might do that. But people talk about Shu, but people don't only talk about Shu on the LA Gladiators.
No, that's true.
And also how Proper's I'm sorry, I'm still going to talk about Proper. How Proper's teammates must be feeling. Because the success of your team is pretty much chalked up to one player. And I don't think that's fair either.
If I were Finn right now, I'd be devastated.
I mean, I don't know if I'd be devastated.
I would be crying and shitting.
But I mean, there's something to say about, like, chalking up an entire team's performance to one player when there are 4 other people on the mic at the same time.
Exactly.
And not to mention coaching staff and all that. So, yeah, lots to say about that. I mean, we're probably going to talk about that more later because I'm sure that's not something that's going to end with the season ending.
No, exactly. And for the 4 of you listening, you're probably like, what the fuck? This is an LA Gladiators podcast, and they just spent the last 10 minutes talking about fucking Proper.
Okay, I just wanted to get that out of the way because I feel like
I'm not subtweeting. Okay. I'm not subtweeting.
Okay. Well,
and I say we haven't heard much from the LA Gladiators management. We do not know what is going on with the team.
We really don't.
Save for that we have Kevster for another year. We don't know where Reiner's going. We don't know what's happening with Space. We don't know where Unter and Face or what their plans are.
Exactly.
Hopefully we know more in the coming weeks.
Exactly.
But, so with that uncertainty, I'd like to bring up a bit of an uncomfortable topic.
Okay.
Who do you think out of the players that are not known the statuses of, like, right, we know Happy's a free agent. We know Kevster's locked down. We don't really know what's going on with anyone else. Who do you think is most likely to unfortunately leave the team?
I do think that Space is probably going to leave. I don't know for sure. That's my speculation, just because he was a free agent last year that looked at other opportunities, which is fine. That's totally... In fact, normalize that. Normalize players looking at opening their opportunities and seeing what other teams can provide them.
Exactly. Not everybody has to be committed to a franchise.
Exactly. I do think that Space, if he doesn't leave, he's definitely going to look at leaving again. Or he'll retire.
He might retire. Although I wouldn't be surprised if, and I talked about this briefly just privately in the off season last year too, that he might take up a coaching role.
He might, and especially with him not being so much as a player. I mean, obviously he's a player, but not spending so much time playing as he did, like, seemingly to doing coaching.
I mean, he definitely spent more time out of the lobby than he did in the server this year.
And, I hope that we keep Shu, and I hope we keep Skewed.
I mean, fuck, if Shu goes, that's a huge hit if we lose Shu.
I know it is. Especially if Shu goes to another team.
Yeah.
But I hope we keep Funny Astro. I hope we keep Skewed. I hope we keep Shu. I do hope we keep Happy. If we can't keep Happy, I hope we pick up, another exciting DPS player. Yeah, I'm ready to just have some mix-ups. I'm ready for some teams to drop really good players and to have those, just kind of like mix it up a little bit. And also, isn't Lip a free agent?
Lip's contract is expiring with the Shanghai Dragons. Yes.
So we don't know what's going to happen with that. We don't know what's going to happen with Kaluj and like the entirety of the Dallas Fuel roster. It'll be really exciting to see what happens.
Again, I'm astounded that those guys' contracts weren't just immediately renewed by the org.
No, I mean, it's the beginning of the off season, and I just feel like going into the off season, a lot of stuff is going to happen, and a lot of stuff already has happened. But it'll be exciting to see how it plays out.
It will. And with that, I think we have exhausted the well, folks. This has been the inaugural episode of the Putting Up the Shields podcast. I'm Brennan.
I'm Rachel.
And we will see you when, in fact, we see you. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.